Hello and welcome. My name is Melissa Galasso, and I'm very excited to be here with you today to talk about ASU 2023-02, which is a very interesting standard looking at expanding the use of the proportional amortization method to things outside of low-income housing. This is something that came out of the Emerging Issues Task Force and was recently approved by the FASB. So as a reminder, ASU 2023-02 is called Accounting for Investments in Tax Credit Structures Using the Proportional Amortization Method. And again, this came out of the Emerging Issues Task Force and really based on feedback from stakeholders that they wanted accounting that made sense given the structure of what they were doing, right? So management's intent, if it's similar between different types of structures, that the accounting should reflect that and there should not be inconsistencies. So this was issued at the end of March 2023. So where did all of the accounting come from in this area? Well, the accounting for qualified affordable housing project actually started way back in 2014, so almost a decade ago. ASU 2014-01, which was accounting for investments in qualified affordable housing projects, introduced the option to apply the proportional amortization method to account for investments made primarily for the purpose of receiving income tax credits and other income tax benefits. However, it is limited to the proportional amortization method for low-income housing tax credits, or LIHTC structures. So very, very narrow. It allowed a method of accounting that people really liked, but it was narrowed down to only those that qualified as low-income housing tax credits. And what the proportional amortization method does is it allows the entity to amortize the initial cost of the investment in proportion to the income tax credits and other income tax benefits received, and then recognizes that net amortization on income tax credit as an offset and component of income tax expense or benefit. So when you think about this, the reason why they're investing in these investments is for the income tax benefit, right? So why are they doing low-income housing? Because they get a nice tax benefit for it. And so as a result, this allows them sort of match that investment cost with the benefit that is being received as a result. And so the proportional amortization method is a positive thing for a lot of people, but it was very limited. In addition, there was feedback that was provided around the low-income housing tax credits that are not using the proportional amortization method. All of the accounting for low-income housing tax credits was in topic 323-740. Remember, 740 being the income tax subsection. And so subtopic 323-740 had all low-income housing tax credit investments, whether they were using the proportional amortization method or not. And people were like, shouldn't they be in other topics? Why are they located here? So what did the FASB do? They expanded. They permit entities to elect, it's not a requirement, it is an election, to account for their tax equity investments, regardless of the tax credit program from which the income tax credits are received, using the proportional amortization method if certain conditions are met. So again, in this scenario, as long as it's a tax equity investment and the purpose of it is to go through and it's to provide income tax credits, regardless of the program, they are expanding the proportional amortization method. Now, it is an election, it's not required, so you can opt in, but you do have to meet certain conditions. So all of the following conditions are required in order to be within the scope of the proportional amortization method. So first, it has to be probable that the income tax credits allocable to the investors will be available. So again, tax structures change, tax laws change, and so we have to do a probability assessment. It has to be at least probable that these income tax credits that are allocable will be available during the agreement. In addition, the investor does not have the ability to exercise significant influence over the operating and financial policies of the underlying project. Again, once they get to significant influence, we would kick them out and we would put them under the equity method. And then substantially all of the projected benefits are from income tax credits and other income tax benefits. And so again, when we take a look at the why are we doing this, what is the purpose of it, substantially all of those benefits are coming from a tax credit. And the projected benefits should be determined on a discounted basis using a discount rate that is consistent with the cash flow assumptions used by the tax equity investor to make the decision to enter into this project. In addition, to use the proportional amortization method, the investor's projected yield based solely on cash flows from the tax credits and other tax benefits is positive, right? So they're obviously benefiting from this investment. And then the investor is a limited liability investor in a limited liability entity for both legal and tax purposes. And so in this scenario, the investor's liability would be limited simply to the capital investment. So again, you have to meet all of those criteria to be able to elect to use the proportional amortization method, regardless of the type of structure it's under. So this would be an accounting policy election at a tax credit program by tax credit program basis, meaning that we don't do this at the reporting entity level, right? You just opt into the proportional amortization method or not, and it's not done at the individual investment, right? So it's a program by program determination, and you would account for the receipts of the investment tax credits in using a flow through method under topic 740, which again is income taxes, even if they apply the deferral method for other investment tax credits. So again, as we take a look at this, they are going to make this more concise. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on in terms of the location or the placement here. So again, when we think about this, all guidance related to low income housing tax credits was in this inside of the 740 guidance, whether they were using the proportional amortization method or not. So what this ASU does is it removes the specialized guidance for low income housing tax credit investments that are not accounted for using the proportional amortization method. And then they give you two options. The first one is if you do have that significant influence and you are accounting for it using the equity method, then you must apply the impairment guidance in topic 323.10, which again is our equity method investments. On the other hand, if it's not accounted for using the proportional amortization method and it's not being accounted for using the equity method, then we're just going to use generic topic 321 on accounting for equity instruments. So remember, equity investments was broken out in ASU 2016-01. We used to have debt and equity together, and then we had debt, and then 321 became equity. So if you are not using the proportional amortization method, you would fall under the regular accounting for equity investments in topic 321. No longer would you use the specialty accounting that we was previously using. And just like anything else, we do have certain disclosure requirements that they would have here. And so during the annual and interim reporting periods, we want the user to understand what is the nature of the tax equity investments and what is the effect of the tax equity investments and related income tax credits and other benefits on the statement of financial position and results of operations. Now, this is not a very explicit disclosure. So if you were to look into the standard, they are going to give you some nice examples of how you can do this. And so again, giving you a little bit more guidance there in the 50 section for disclosures on what this should look like from that perspective. But again, the user wants to understand, well, what are we investing in and what benefit does it give us on both the income statement and the balance sheet? So again, just a little bit more consistency there. All right, so when do we have to do this? Well, if you are a public business entity, this standard is effective for fiscal years beginning after December 15th of 2023, which would be calendar 24. And for everyone else, it would be for fiscal years beginning after December 15th of 24, which would be calendar 25. However, early adoption is permitted for all entities in any interim period. So again, this is a popular option for people. Again, this was a request that the EITF gave simply because that was the request that they received from users, that these were economically similar with different accounting. And so to reduce that diversity, the expansion of the proportional method made sense. All right, so that is a wrap on ASU 2023-02. Hopefully, if you are investing in these types of items, you might be getting some new accounting here. And so that was, again, requested by the people and stakeholders to get that more consistent accounting. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me, and I hope to see you on a future Nano. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.